I'm Emma Lord. I am the author of the recently released Getaway List, in addition to a bunch of other dessert-based YA rom-coms, including Tweet Cute, You Have a Match, When You Get the Chance, and Begin Again. It's a mouthful. They're getting hard to remember. I'm becoming a negligent mom. I live in New York, and I love romance and dessert. So hence my hence all of the major themes of all of these books.
Yeah, absolutely. I love romance and dessert too. I mean, who doesn't?
True,
But
true, true.
cool. Well, like you said, you're the best-selling author of You Have a Match and Tweet Cute and all of the other books that you have. How does it feel to have this kind of response from such a young adult audience?
Oh gosh, it's exciting. It's unexpected. I talked to a lot of authors who are sort of in my like cohort, so to speak, and a lot of us came up in fan fiction. So most of the time when we were talking to people, they were anonymous, we were anonymous. So we're like very much not used to being able to connect to readers in like real time and like in like and face to face, and that is the energy of that is just like very exciting and fun. I've started doing it's interesting because I started authoring basically during COVID. So only recently have I started to get to like go out and like meet people at like library events and like signing events. And that is just like a very exciting shift to get to like talk to people in person and nerd out about bakeries. So I would say it's been really fun so far.
That's so awesome. I love it. And I love that the little sweet details too. So that's so fun. In your books, they are like retelling older stories in a young adult and contemporary lens. So how do you choose which stories that you want to like redo?
Yeah, I feel like they choose me. Um Tweet Cute was the first one, and I actually tweeted the idea for that like kind of as a joke. And then I went to go see Mean Girls. I remember this was like just like a hyper specific memory. It was like in DC at the time. And when I walked, it was like before it hit Broadway, and I walked out of the theater and turned back on my phone, and I saw that the tweet had gone viral, and a bunch of people were saying this should be a book, or I'm gonna write this book, or and I was like, no, like I'm gonna read the book. And I never initially had the idea for it to be like a You've Got Mail trope, but a lot of people were saying like my big secret here is I'd never watched You've Got Mail, and I didn't let myself read it after people were comparing the idea for Tweet Cute to it because I didn't want it to influence too much of the book. Um, then the other one that was sort of a You Have a Match being a Parent Trap based book. I was working as a digital media editor at the time. And I mean, I still am in digital media during the day. Um, but there were all these stories about siblings who were and half siblings who were finding each other on DNA tests that were coming out. And I was like, I just sort of had the idea for like, wouldn't it be odd if you found like a full-blooded sibling that you didn't know about on an app and or on these DNA tests, and that sort of sparked that. And When You Get the Chance being the Mamma Mia remix, that one I feel like was very on purpose. I was like, I like kind of sat myself down and I was like, what makes me happiest in this world? And I was like, Mamma Mia, like ABBA. So that's how the reverse where she's looking for the mom kind of happened. And then the other two, I don't know. Begin Again, we've comped to Legally Blonde to some degrees, just because she is going to another school that her boyfriend happens to go to, or she thinks that he goes to. But the other two weren't really remixes, and the one that's coming up isn't either. That's not to say that I won't end up doing that sometime in the future. We love refreshing an old thing. I think it's fun that people have like a some sort of expectation going in and then get to enjoy the twist.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that. And I've actually never seen Mamma Mia, but I've always wanted to. And my friends are all like, you have to watch it. And I'm like, okay, I will. But I've been saying I will for like 3 or 4 years now. I'm like, oh, I gotta get on that. But that's so funny. So now it's super on my list now that you've said that.
It'll happen to you when it's meant to. I feel like like some movies, like they happen to you at the precise moment you need them.
Absolutely, absolutely. I know there's so many of those. Like Almost Famous is one of my favorite movies of all time. It's like so influential to
It's all
me.
happening.
Right? Exactly. So maybe Mamma Mia will hit me like Almost Famous did.
Yeah, I think it will.
That's so funny. I love it. Okay. Okay, so what would someone type into Google to like find your books to like finish the sentence if it was like, I'm looking for a blank book? What do you think
Um,
it would pop up as?
Unhinged dessert rom-com. Like I think we would hope that that would. I'd like to think that I'm somewhere in at least the top 50 pages of that search
Yeah,
history.
absolutely. If not on the first page, I think that's
Yeah,
so
yeah.
100% accurate. I love it. Okay, so your books have been described as having like a signature cheer to them. So how do you keep that energy throughout the book?
Oh gosh, that makes me very happy. I think some of it is like, and I hear this from a lot of other writers too, where it's like if there's a scene that you are struggling to write, or you're bored by the scene, or you're just like not getting motivation, it's like, and like and it's the right moment for the tone to be light and funny. It's like, how can you make this a little funny, or how can you make this exciting for you to write so it's like fun for readers to read? So I think that that's sort of how I maintain it. I think it also helps that um I'm generally fueled by like 98% cake. I've been going on a lot of like trips with like friends recently. So like they'll see, like I joke that like I think they thought I was kidding. And like it's funny when they like spend a lot of time with me, they were like, "Oh, you weren't." Like most of what you're eating is junk food. And I'm like, "Yes, it's a miracle I'm alive." So I think that must influence the book somehow.
Yeah, absolutely. I totally get that because that's like I feel like Buddy the Elf sometimes where it's like my four main food groups, candy, candy cane, candy corns, and syrup.
Yeah, yeah. Oh gosh, yeah. Buddy the Elf. We need to. That's what we need. The three of us need to all go out desserts in Nashville.
Exactly. And that'd be so lovely. I would love it. So I guess if you are filled by cake, what's your favorite cake flavor, your go-to cake flavor?
Oh my gosh, I'm so glad you asked. I have this hyper specific shout out to whoever this man was. I used to work at a wedding cake bakery, like back in Virginia many moons ago. It was delightful. And there's this thing, I don't know if ever like all parts of the country are familiar with this because I wasn't, but there's this thing called a groom's cake that is typically served at the rehearsal dinner. And it's sort of like the appetizers or the wedding cake, but it's like the more fun cake. You get the wackier flavors, you get like wackier designs, and you sometimes the groom picks it out, sometimes it's an inside joke between like either partner. But that's sort of, I think people are just starting to maybe call it the rehearsal dinner cake at this point. But
Yeah.
the man who I remember it was the size of a giant football, so they had to shave it down, and I was the gremlin who got to eat the cake shavings when this happened. And the flavor he had selected was it was like a yellow cake studded with chocolate chips, and in between each layer was um a whipped peanut butter cream cheese frosting, raspberry jam, and chocolate ganache. And the whole thing was covered in peanut butter frosting. It was like a peanut butter jelly chocolate chip yellow cake. And I dream about that cake to this day. Like nothing will ever replace it in my mind. She's so beautiful. She's unmatched. So PB&J chocolate yellow cake is my favorite
That
flavor.
is so niche and so awesome. I was not expecting that answer, but I am so glad that we got it.
I'm curious
Um,
what yours is now.
I well, I don't have anything creative like that, and I'm allergic to peanuts, which is so tragic. But I'm like, that sounds really good, except for the peanut part, because I don't really know what it tastes like. So, um,
Wow.
I know it's crazy, but peanut butter and jellies intrigue me because I think they would be really good. I don't know. But my favorite, have you ever seen Steel Magnolias, where they have like the armadillo and it's like red velvet on the inside? It's like it looks really spooky, and I think about it all the time. I think my favorite is red velvet. I've never had it in the shape of an armadillo, but you were talking about like the grooms, and I was thinking about that.
Life is long. Someday you're gonna have an armadillo cake. I believe in
Right,
you.
exactly. I've never been married. Maybe one day I'll get married and we'll have to have an armadillo cake.
Mhm. That's just inherently romantic. Armadillo
Exactly.
cakes.
Oh, hey, that's a dessert and a romance right there.
Yes, there it
You're on the
is.
right track there. Okay, so we're so excited to dig into the getaway list, and we were wondering if you could describe it in three emojis.
Oh, definitely the bicycle emoji. Um, and that envelope emoji. with the little heart on it, like the Valentine emoji.
Uh-huh.
And then I think the emoji where it's going like this, like it's got, I'm trying to wink. Imagine that emoji. I can't wink.
That's so funny. That's perfect. Those are three really good picks. So I
Thank
love
you.
it. And it's kind of a funky question, so I think it's funny though. So okay. In the getaway list, it's a list of all the adventures that Riley and Tom wanted to do together since Tom moved away. How did you decide what you were going to put on that list?
I would say it was a blend of things I did when I first moved to the city, and a blend of things and things that I either had done or wanted to do with friends. I think that was sort of like the impetus for all of them. And I'm trying to remember if there were any like weird standouts. I knew I wanted Central Park to be like a very big part of it because I basically live there. Um, like I've always joked that if I die, my ghost will just live in Central Park. Like that's like, you know, it's like you put a considerable amount of time into thinking what part of the universe you would haunt. And,
Yes.
and for me, it's Central Park. So that was, I think that was part of it for sure. Was just sort of mimicking things that I did when I first got here. It's been 9 years. In March. Time flies.
That's crazy. Well, your New York anniversary.
Yes, I think it happened very early in March. I always remember because the day I moved here, I had for the first and only time in my life food poisoning.
Hmm,
And I
nice.
knew I knew I loved the city because I was like actively just food poisoned and I was like, what a treat to be here. Like
Aw, you seem like such a sweet and positive person, and like even food poisoning cannot take you down.
oh, it took me a little down, but the city, but the buildings raise you up.
That's so fun. That's so sweet. It's so nice to see that like you're so woven into the story too. I love it. It's probably what makes it so like fun to read and like so personable. So I think it's
Gosh, thanks.
yeah. Okay, so if Tom were gonna have a dating profile, what are some of the activities that you might see on there?
That's a great question. I feel like something with dessert. I feel like something um where like some sort of Comic-Con thing where like because they're really into Tides of Time. Um, but like I also wouldn't put it past him to just do that thing where he's just like, I'm in a large group of friends. Guess which one I am? You'll
Yeah.
never figure it out unless you swipe three more photos through. Like I think that's like there are a lot of friend pics and like a lot of people being like, is he that one? Is he this one? And then they figure out when the Comic-Con one comes up.
Yeah, that's so funny. That's so perfect too. I feel like very on point. So, okay, I know we kind of talked about how the list is inspired by things that you wanted to do or have done in the city, but is there anything that isn't on the list that you would put on your own?
Ooh. This isn't like really like a fun kitschy thing, but I've been like reflecting lately because I've had a lot of friends who've come into the city and they're like, "You're a foodie. We want your recs. Like, what restaurants do we go to?" And I'm like, "I don't know. Like, I only know bakeries. Like, and I feel utterly. I mean, I love food, but I'm not really like a. If I'm going out somewhere, I'll go out for like a drink or I'll go out to a bakery. I'm like generally like, which is a huge gap in my New York education. So I think that's my focus for like spring and summer is I'm going to start like that's a kind of on my like getaway list right now is to go to some restaurants like
Yeah,
sit down
absolutely.
and eat regular human food.
That's so fun. That's a great one too. Because like there's a never ending supply of restaurants. Like so you can never run out. That's so fun. I love it. And I love that it's like a hobby too. Like some people get so into like finding like really fun restaurants to go to. And it's always nice when family comes to town when you're like have things, you're like, oh, let's go here because I know that it's awesome.
Yes, yes. God bless the TikTokers in the meantime who are doing the work. Like I
Oh,
don't think I've gone just to a lot of TikTok recommendations lately, and I don't regret it.
absolutely. I can think of one that I do regret from TikTok. And it was so yucky. It
Oh
was
no.
Oh, and it was a charcuterie board that I like got with some of my friends, and I thought it was gonna be so nice and so lovely, but it was so nasty, and I would never do it again. But the vibes were awesome.
I was gonna
So
say, I hope the aesthetic was good, but like, how do you mess up cheese?
I know it was really fancy cheese, and I think that I'm not quite sophisticated enough for that.
I don't think that I think that if they have made cheese unpalatable in some way, then they've created the problem.
That is so true. That is so true. And then I smelled like icky cheese for the rest of the day.
Oh no.
I
Oh,
know, I know. So sometimes, well, very rarely, the TikTokers will lead you astray, but for the most part, I trust them.
it's good. It's good to have a wild card in there every now and then. Keep you on your toes.
Amen, for sure. Okay, so the getaway list has a friends to lovers trope. What motivated you to want to do it that way?
Interestingly, I find with most books, I'm really gravitate more toward the enemies to lovers. So this one was kind of fun. I think what I always gravitate to in general, because the thing that enemies to lovers and friends to lovers have in common is that the characters know each other before the book starts. And
Mhm.
I love when characters already have like a firm foundation, and they either, like in the enemies case, they're like pretending not to know all the things that they know about each other, or in the friends case, like you're kind of like you're learning new things about each other that you didn't already know. And I think my motivation for that is like art imitating life and all that. I feel like every romantic situation I've been in, it's been somebody I was friends with first. I regrettably don't have any enemies that I that I ended up with, but if I did, no, but I do think for me, romance always came from like a very solid foundation of knowing each other first, and then like learning more about each other as time went on. So I think that's what was really exciting about getting to write the friends to lovers trope like that, was sort of like, to me that's like kind of like peak romance.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm like a hopeless romantic myself. I'm like, friends to lovers. One day maybe.
Yeah, yeah, it's got the pining, it's got the, it's like if you just like meet somebody right on the page, then it's like, okay, like I hope you're nice, I don't know, like
Exactly. No, I'm tracking. I totally get it. That's like that's probably I'm just a sucker for friends to lovers. So I am on the same page. Are there any like scenes or like parts of any of your books that like have been cut out of one and you were like, I want to use that for a different one?
I think that there are probably characters or hobbies or something that have been like researched and put into books that never got published, that,
Uh-huh.
that I then put into other books. I often joke that Tweet Cute being the first book, it sits on a grave of like 5 other books that never will see the light of day. So, and it's funny because those books, that I was never really one to look back and be like, these poor books that will never get published, because I kind of inherently understood that I would have been doing it. I can't stop writing to save my life, so I would have been doing it regardless of whether those books would get published. And B, like they still pop up like in later, it's like I hope that anybody who feels discouraged about anything that they write not getting published can take comfort in knowing that it's like some things you create always stay with you, and they can come back around in other fun ways. Like I've definitely, even if it's just reusing a name, like Riley was the name of a character, and she was like totally like, Riley was a completely different character in a completely different universe, that never saw that. She was the book that I wrote right before Tweet Cute, and after I had the idea for Tweet Cute, nobody wanted to see the other book. They were like, she's out, she's goodbye. Like I don't know if anybody even read it, but she did get to come back in the end.
Oh, good, good, good. And I love the name Riley because you can ask my mom if you need to fact check this, but that's always been my favorite name. And I'm like, I'm naming my first kid Riley. Like
I love that name too. It's so playful.
oh, did you ever watch? Okay, I was super into Disney Channel around the time that Girl Meets World was out, and Riley Matthews was like, I thought she was such a like little sweetheart. And so I think maybe I stole it from that, but I love the name Riley. It is so sweet.
I love when you love a name and then you meet somebody who enforces your love of that name. You're like, oh, like I love the name Caroline, and every person I've ever met with the name Caroline or something close to it has been a cool person. And I'm like, don't wreck this for me. Like,
Oh, I have a cousin named Caroline, and she is the sweetest little angel in the world. I
perfect.
don't know about Caroline.
It all tracks.
Exactly, exactly, exactly. Okay, so speaking of like TV and the big screen, are there any of your books or any scenes from any of your books that you hope to like one day see on the big screen?
Oh my gosh, every single one of them. I
Fair enough.
just be very exciting because it's my dream one day to roll up to a set and be able to eat off the craft services table. Like I just
Yes.
I see them in New York all the time. And when I was living in Nashville, I got to be an extra. You can't even see me, but I got to be an extra on like a random episode in season 2, and we ate like kings. They gave us free potatoes and free bacon, and I can't remember. I just was mostly excited about that. I was broke. I was like, and ever since that day.
That's so funny. I like don't think about the snack table as much as I thought I probably should because I think about snacks way too much. So
Right. All
I'm
my
like,
friends were like in like TV or film, like whether like in writing or acting capacity, or like it's the food's terrible. Like stop, this shouldn't be your dream. And I'm like, I will not be silenced. Like I will not
yeah,
be heard.
exactly.
Uh, but I would just love to see, like, it's always exciting when a YA project gets pushed to film or TV in general, just because it's like the start of usually it's like the start of like some young actors' careers, and like I just like think that that's really exciting. So it would be fun to get to like watch that happen if that ever came to
Yeah,
fruition.
absolutely. That's so sweet. I didn't think about that, but I'm like, it is. It's like young talent, like getting to do something for the first time, probably. So that's cool. I like thinking about it that way.
I think about the cast of To All the Boys, and I'm like, that's amazing that that was how they start, and now they just have these like massive blossoming careers outside of it, and like it's like franchised into like another series. It's like that's like bringing even more kids. I don't know. It's exciting how YA gets to move in the world these days.
I'm like launch these little babies into
Yeah.
it's so sweet. I love it. I like my example is like sometimes like Zac Efron from like High School Musical all the way to like everything he does now. So
Yep.
that's
Yep.
we can see the next one. I have a couple more questions for you. One of them is where do you think that Pepper and Jack are from Tweet Cute? Where do you think they would be today?
Ooh, I'm trying to think about how many years would have passed. It was that book came out in 2020, so about 4 years. I think they're both definitely in New York. Um, I think I think Pepper is probably helping co-run Girl Cheesing, but like with the like intention of getting enough experience to open her own place up someday, not across the street, and not like not in a way that's competing with Girl Cheesing. She's probably looking at the Upper East Side so she stays close to her mom. Um, and I think Jack is probably doing something, like he's probably, if not interning, then working full time at like and some social media. He's like he's the Duolingo owl. Nobody knows. He's he's like he's doing something big on TikTok, like for a brand, and then accidentally becoming famous himself as the face of that brand. Um, I think is what he's doing, and like a very like Jim from The Office way.
That's so funny. Like kind of like Jake from State Farm, but like a little funnier, a little
Yes,
goofy.
yes.
Love
Jack from
it.
insert company here.
Yes, bingo. That's a great answer. I love it. I love it. That's so
These are
funny.
great questions.
Right? So good. So good. I wrote a couple, but not that many. Okay. What is your favorite young adult or coming of age novel or story?
I don't know about favorite so much as just like the one that really stuck with me, um that I was just like in awe of, like the Sisterhood of the Traveling Pants. I just like I love that series so much, and it's been a really long time since I've read it. But I feel like Anne Brashares' way of capturing certain feelings in words that I I'd never even like felt like in a concrete enough way to think that there were words that you could give to them. I feel like she's like, there's some sort of like part of the human consciousness that I sometimes just like see in her writing that I'm like, oh my God, like that's exactly that feeling. Like, and I didn't realize that was so universal that somebody could just put it into words like that. And I feel like that you really struggle to find language to explain the strange feelings you have in like a time when you're like coming of age. And I felt like she didn't just do an amazing job with that, but there was like a final book that was more like new adult or maybe even adult, of like the last chapter kind of when they're all older. And she even did it then. And I just like, that always kind of sticks with me. Also Fangirl by Rainbow Roll. I thought that was like my first, like, cause like that was like more of a late bloomer book. And I kind of consider myself on, I really like that YA is moving into the college space now, because I feel like for a lot of us, coming of age did not happen until college.
Right? For sure. Even after.
Yeah,
Just
yeah, yeah, yeah.
I'm
I'm like,
figuring it out
all
all
of your
the time.
20s are coming of age.
Exactly, exactly. That's so true. Very well put. Very well put. I love. Okay, so the very last question we were going to ask is about your upcoming book, The Breakup Pact, and we were wondering if you have any like little snippets or sneak peeks about June and Levi that you could share with us.
For sure. So the Breakup Pact is actually my first adult rom-com, and that is June and Levi. Just like the small summary is that they have both been broken up with in these ways that go like in very embarrassing ways that go like very, very viral. So their names are like in the cultural lexicon now as like and they end up both, they're childhood friends. They end up both kind of retreating back to the small town where they're from, and a photo of the two of them together gets misconstrued and people think that they're dating and call them the revenge exes, as if they are trying to get back at these exes who have humiliated them by getting together. And they decide to lean into it and fake date because it's bringing business to her seaside tea shop, and he wants to get back his fiance. So that's sort of the gist of it, is like lots of fake dating shenanigans while they're planning June's brother's wedding. And I will say like a tidbit that I can tell you now is that each of my books has like a dessert that kind of the plot hinges on, and this time it's scones, and it's all kinds of like really wild, like interesting weird scones, and I'm looking forward to that becoming my little sister's nightmare, because our process is I come up with the weird dessert and then she figures out how to make it. So
That's crazy. That's so cool. I love it.
I'm tapping her in.
Yes, exactly. That's so fun. I love that she's a part of that too. I have a little sister, so that like is very near and dear to my heart. I'm like, and I have to figure out a way to bring my sister into all of my things too.
Yes, yes, you need to like write a song about a baked good and then make her make the baked good.
Right, because she's so good at baking. I'm a little behind in that department, but she's so good at it. So we might have to do a little follow-up behind you
I'm
guys.
good at eating. Like,
I'm so good at eating. I'm so good at it.
perfect team.
Exactly, exactly, exactly. I love, love, love it. Well, thank you so, so, so much for hanging out and sharing all of this fun little insights into your books. We are so excited for the new one, and we love the Getaway List. We're so pumped to get to share this little interview with all of our little audience. So thanks so much again.
Thank you for chatting with me. This was such a blast.